Investing in property is one of the best asset classes out there, but how exactly do you find the best areas to invest in? Well, in order to do that, we need to jump into our spreadsheet, get a little bit geeky on the data. Wait, I'm confused. Why have you fallen asleep? Data's cool, let's jump straight in. You don't need to guess this stuff. You can actually be really data driven. Like, people are shocked when it's like, oh, you chose to invest there. Look how much it's increased over the last 5 years. It's like, yeah, that was fairly obvious to most people that actually understand data. And in the same way, people buy properties in area just based on getting a cheap price, and then it flatlines or sometimes even goes down in value. And again, people that understand data, it's kind of like, well, yeah, that was fairly obvious that that was going to happen. So the first thing to look out is the survey. One of the best is the census data, which has recently been updated. I'll put a link to the census so you can see it. It's got some wicked graphics on it. And one of the key things I'm looking for is the increase in population. So for example, in Leeds between 2011 and 2021, there's been over an 8% increase from around 751,000 to 812,000 people. That is a huge increase of individuals, which is much higher than the overall increase of England, which is 6.6%. And by the way, even that 6.6% is far outstripping what we're able to supply in housing, which is why fundamentally property is such an amazing investment in the UK. But you can use this data to make an understanding. If there are more people going to a certain area, then that is a good sign that demand will outstrip supply. So you're unlikely to have a load of properties sat empty unless it's done deliberately or somebody hasn't put money into doing it up yet. The next thing is looking at development in the area. One of the two places for this is the local SHLAA, S-H-L-A-A. This is your local council's development plan, and what they're looking at is they are telling you what their targets are for the next 5 years, but what they'll also tell you is how they're facilitating that and if they are ahead or they are behind. By the way, worth noting again, most development plans don't actually facilitate the demand that's there. We actually need far more than the council's budgeting for, but you know, there are limits to what they can do. Now, as somebody that's providing housing, and that's either as a developer yourself or as a property investor, it's a really good sign from an investment point of view, or if they are undersupplied and they are underachieving their targets. Number one, as a developer, it means you're a hell of a lot more likely to get planning pushed through faster and get accepted. If there's a massive lack of supply, you know what that means to your property prices. It's only really going one way over the long term, and that is up. The second thing is the redevelopment plans. So let me go to Leeds again, and we'll go to the South Bank area of Leeds, which is Holbeck and areas like that on the south of Leeds. Now, a couple of years ago, pretty rough area, and yet it has one of the biggest redevelopment zones in the whole of Europe right now, with over 350 football pitches worth of development going on. And we are talking thousands and thousands, so much so, by the way, that I currently live there. Most of these developments are aimed at young professionals and A-grade offices, and it is completely revolutionizing it. So much so that a couple of years ago, you could have purchased a 2 to 3 bed property for 60 to 70,000, and today you are paying anything between 90 on a bloody good day to 120,000 pounds for the same property just within a 2-year time frame. That is staggering. But again, if you can find these areas online where this massive regeneration is going on, signed off and started, you can get in there early and really benefit from other people's efforts. Not only do the prices increase from a purchase point of view, but rental prices go up massively in the area, and the type of person there is a more desirable tenant type, and make of that what you will, but generally spending more money to live there, it becomes more of a gentrified area, a bit more hipstery and stuff like that, but ultimately more money brings in more people, brings in more money, and increases the prices. The next piece of data I like looking at is tenure of property. Now, the tenure of property means what is the ownership in the area and what rental standards. So it's really broken down into 4 sections. It's owner-occupier with owned outright, so they own it in cash. Owner-occupier with a mortgage, private rental sector and social housing. It could be that people on LHA or DSS, it could be ex-prisoners, it could be people that are in assisted living in that social housing grade. You can find this for free on streetcheck.co.uk, or if you want more up-to-date data, you can check out propertydata.co.uk, and I'll put a link to property data in the description below. For about £14 a month, you get quite a lot of value. Ultimately, what you're looking for is, if you are focused more on capital growth, you're looking for home ownership to be above 60% in that total. You know, the 30% and 30%, around 60%. So if we're looking higher than that, that's going to be really high capital growth. But the other thing that really does push capital growth is the lower value areas being more private rental sector. The reason that's important is if it's a higher private rental sector, there's more demand for rents in the area, which pushes up the prices of rents, which pushes up the yields and the return on capital employed for investors, which means that investors will be able to pay more for properties in those particular areas. The final thing you want to be really thinking about is amenities in the area. So the key ones in this is the logistics, okay? What I mean by this is, where's the local transport links? Where's the closest motorway? How are people getting from your town to other major towns? The easier it is, the more money it will be worth. Think of, for example, the HS2, high-speed rail links going from London all the way up north, okay? So you'll be able to get from Leeds to London in just over an hour. So that means people that are working in Leeds, or London, sorry, will be able to travel to Leeds to London every single day from the comfort of their own home, which is pretty staggering, and there's huge investment going into that. Another really big one is Ofsted. I always think you want your tenants to make your house their home, and a really good rating for this is Ofsted. You can find this on the government website, by the way, and essentially you are looking for a selection of good or outstanding schools. If you've got good or outstanding in the Ofsted report, that is a really good indication that people are going to be, your property will be in really high demand, and you are likely to get a tenant that wants to live there for 3 to 5 years and beyond, because most parents don't want to move their kids around several properties. So it's a really great indication of a great rental sector also. So for some of us, collecting data can be a massive minefield and really geeky, like me, and you don't really know when to stop collecting the data in the first place. For other people, you just don't know where to start, and hopefully this video has been a start for you to start doing research in your area. But I'm interested, what have I missed? Put in the comments if there's anything else that you do to find out if it's a really good investment area. And by the way, if you're watching this and you're thinking, I know I want to invest in property, I'm not sure that I can do the research, and you want to rely on somebody like me that want to build their portfolio that don't have the time, you can put APG in the comments, and one of my team will be in touch with a link, and you can have a chat to start building that portfolio. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe and the notification bell, and it would help me out tremendously if you lightly destroy the like button, and I'll see you in the next video.